After leaving Australia, I thought I'd left behind the creepy crawlies and all the dangerous animals. Boy, was I wrong. Following on from my last video about settling into Hokkaido life, spring had now finally set in, and I was ecstatic to see that my national flower, the daffodil, was actually in bloom. Though the daffodil originates from North Africa and Europe, it's actually synonymous with St. David's Day in Wales, and it's our national flower. You'll often see a daffodil pinned to a Welsh person's shirt on 1st of March, which is St. David's Day. For me, it was like seeing a part of home after not being home for 16 years. It was awesome. Spring in Hokkaido was beyond my expectations. I was blown away by how many people were actually tending to their gardens and planting seasonal flowers, it was really beautiful. I can't put it into words. Almost every day when I commuted to the gym or to the shops, I'd always see someone potting around in their garden, and one of the flowers that stood out to me quite a lot was the tulips. I'd never seen so many variety of colours of tulips in my life. All of the tulips in our garden. It's quite surprising, the variety of colours. I didn't know tulips could be in that many colours, to be fair. I think the colour that stands out to me the most has got to be the purple looking ones. The one's right next to it looks like a little peach. I didn't even know there was that many, to be fair. I'm not really into gardening myself, but considering I was so inspired by the local beauty of the area, I actually volunteered to do some planting of flowers near the local train station. At this point, I'd actually been in Hokkaido for 2 months, and my mother-in-law's boyfriend set me up with a student who you will have seen in some of my other videos. His name is Aki. Aki and I went to my mother-in-law's boyfriend's workplace, where Aki also works, and Aki did a trial lesson with me and paid for my meal in exchange for the lesson. Both Aki and I sparked a bond after that first lesson, and he and I have been friends since that very first lesson. I now live about 20 minutes away from Aki, but on occasions he will actually come and pick me up from my house and we will go out on mini day adventures. Otherwise, every Wednesday I will actually do an online lesson with him. Aki is around 70 years old and he doesn't show it. He's very lively. He plays tennis every morning, and he also works semi-retired in a winery because he's a professional winemaker. And then in the night he will either tend to his garden or he will sit down with his wife and have a nice glass of wine. One of my favourite quotes from Aki is, "I love wine and I love lady." And to be fair, I couldn't disagree. That's a good thing to say. Aki is also one of the community leaders, and so he often organises various different events, but he's also very embedded in the local environment, and he has a massive love for flowers and, well, wine again, but he's often telling me about the various different plants. Even on the first time I met him, he was telling me so many various different plants, and initially I wasn't that interested because I'm not a massive flower person, but I can definitely feel his passion for the flowers. I've been fortunate to have 2 tours with Aki. I've had one tour with him in his workplace winery and also in his previous job winery. I'm currently trying to help him out with his translation of his Japanese wine tour at the Tokachi Wine Castle, translating it from Japanese into English, and stay tuned as we will eventually have a video for that experience. The biggest adventures that I've been on so far have actually been with Aki. One of the biggest adventures or biggest experiences I've had was grape harvesting at the Tokachi Wine Castle, and then on another occasion we actually went on a bus tour with many of the local community members around the Kashiro marshlands. I'd never been to a marshland in my life and it was awesome. I'll also link the videos for those up the top as well. One of the very first festivals I had the pleasure of attending was the Hanami. Hana meaning flower and mi meaning to observe. When I went to this event, it was held within a giant greenhouse, which is adjacent to the local community hall, and there was loads of people inside the greenhouse, and to be fair, it was pretty bloody hot, greenhouse effect. But as soon as we entered, we had to pay a very small amount. It was like 500 yen or 1,000 yen. They gave us a bento box with tons of different types of food. They gave us as much beer as you wanted, glasses of wine, and Aki was also one of the main announcers at the event. Some of the older fellas got up and smashed out some karaoke. There was also bingo being played. I think I ended up winning some laundry detergent, but unfortunately it wasn't the right type for my mother-in-law's washing machine. But fortunately, it was the right type for my grandmother-in-law's, so it worked out in the end. One morning when the weather started warming up, I walked up the stairs, and as I started walking up to the top of the landing, I almost shit myself. Right in front of me was a Suzumebachi, the giant Asian hornet. First time seeing a Japanese hornet. The thing is fucking huge. This does not do it justice. It's absolutely huge. One big ugly bastard. Now, when I was a child, I was absolutely petrified of wasps, and so this thing was on steroids. To go back down memory lane, I remember being in the UK and screaming at the top of my lungs like a little girl in the car park after my dad had gone inside McDonald's. I had a Fanta drink in my hands, and a wasp had come into the car and was trying to get a sip itself, and I was doing my load. I was screaming so loud. The McDonald's people actually came out the back of the door. They were probably thinking some little girl was getting hurt or something, but it was just little 9-year-old me shitting my pants basically because a wasp got in the car. One of the staff members tried to console me by telling me a story about how ants got into his kitchen, and he was crying as well. But I'm pretty sure he was just trying to be nice, to be fair. Going back to the Asian hornet, that thing was bloody massive. I quickly slammed the window and I stepped back, but curiosity got the better of me, and I actually took some close-up pictures of it with this phone. Its phone quality is bloody amazing, and in a way, it is pretty disgusting, but it is also just a little bit cute as well. You'll see the pictures. Now that same day, as I left the house to go to the gym, I walked down the pathway outside of my mother-in-law's house. I looked to the left of me, and guess what I saw? I saw a majestic, lovely little red thing. It was a kitsune, or otherwise a Japanese fox. And it was quite far away from me, but I managed to take some decent pictures. But some of them ended up looking like oil pictures. So just in case you're thinking, oh, he's a lying bastard, I've actually got some video footage of the fox running through the fields. I think at that point it looked a bit malnourished, which is a bit sad, but I was ecstatic. I'd never seen red fox like that before, at least not in the wild. And I can pretty much say I was much happier to see the kitsune overseeing that big bloody wasp. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. It'll mean the world to me and will help the channel grow. I would also love it if you shared your comments on the video so I can make more videos that you'll enjoy. Bye-bye. Now here comes the trifecta. I had just finished up at the gym session and I jumped on my bike and I received a text message from my mother-in-law, and she said there'd actually been a bear sighting near the house. Now this must have got lost in translation. I quickly ran downstairs and I looked outside the window and I was expecting to see Winnie the Pooh himself, but no such luck. I was slightly shitting myself and I was a bit worried that my wife's cat might entice the bear to come inside. I mean, I'd never seen a bear before and I don't know what the protocol is in that situation. So moving on from there, the coast was clear. There was no bear. I went back upstairs and I decided to crack into my TESOL course. It wasn't until later that night that my mother-in-law actually clarified that the bear had actually been sighted in a mountain near our house, not actually literally near our house. So that made a bit of sense. The next morning, I was actually woken by gunshots. And I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe they've shot or hunted the bear for safety purposes. Once I got up and went downstairs for breakfast, my mother-in-law actually said or clarified, no, it was just the bloody local sports day guns going off. So I think Mr. Bear got away unscathed, and we didn't really hear too much about it after that. But that was the trifecta. I was, after being in Japan for such a short time and having either encountered or almost encountered those things was quite surprising. You could say that the bear was probably coming down the mountain because with spring comes a lot of tasty vegetables and edibles. No, not those sort of edibles. My mother-in-law actually had rhubarb growing in the garden, and I was chuffed to bits because in Australia there wasn't so much rhubarb, and in the UK we would often make rhubarb crumbles. So I decided to pick some of the rhubarb in my mother-in-law's garden, and I ended up making a rhubarb and strawberry crumble, and I have to say it was absolutely bloody fantastic. It was the first time I'd actually made one myself. My mum had always made things like that. I think my mum always used apple actually. Apple and rhubarb, but I think that's tart and it doesn't work as much as I'd like. So the sweet of strawberries and the tartness of rhubarb combined with a shit ton of sugar and flour, etc., and butter, of course, I was excellent. I also ended up buying some cheap and cheerful ice creams, chocolate ice creams with vanilla on the inside on a stick, broke them off and crumbled it, like crushed it up and put it next to the crumble. Everybody enjoyed it, and being the fat bastard that I am, I loved it. And I will definitely be making something like that next year as well. Also, not only was there vegetables in my mother-in-law's garden, there was wild vegetables along the riverbanks as well. And in my mind, it made me think of Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, where after you've done a day's work on the farm, you have to quickly run out and go and collect some of the wild vegetables to take back to the farm, which was awesome. So I can see where those games have taken inspiration from Japanese life. Obviously, Stardew Valley took from Harvest Moon, but Harvest Moon was a Japanese game and drew upon farming life within Japan. I'd now been in Japan for about 3 months, and now it was time to finally meet up with some of the Gaijin boys. Gaijin meaning foreigners. So before I came to Japan, I was in communication with a mate of mine called Bruno. I'd actually met him on a Japanese building and renovating website because in the future I would like to build my own house or something to that effect. He actually owns a coffee shop in Obihiro, the town that I live in, and he actually lived in Australia for a few years. He also has a Japanese wife. That's how he managed to come to Japan, and he's got a wicked sense of humour, so it was nice to have someone that I could talk to that shares a similar sense of humour with me. Stuff that you're probably not going to see so much of on YouTube because my type of humour will probably end up being a bit too much for YouTube, but yeah, we definitely have a good laugh. On the night that we met up, I met Bruno with one of his other mates called David. There was a couple of other lads, but David stood out as well. Now, as you can probably imagine, with a name like David, where did he come from? Comes from Wales. However, he was brought up in England, and when I met David I was a bit surprised because he seemed quite shy, but after getting a couple of drinks into him, he was absolutely he's a crack up. Like, just the stuff that he was saying was making me and Bruno piss ourselves laughing. It was just completely out of nowhere. I wouldn't have guessed. That night we actually had a nomi hodai, which is an all you can drink, and a tabi hodai, which is an all you can eat. So all of us lads, we were having tons of drinks, tons to eat, chicken. I had my first oyster on that night, to be fair. I'd never tried oyster before. I'm not a seafood person, so it was okay. Not massive fan, but it was okay. After stuffing our faces and having plenty of drinks, we then walked to another bar where they had a pool table and some darts, and we carried on drinking, and then eventually my wife picked me up. After the night, I started to feel just a bit more assimilated into my new home, and I was feeling so much better because initially I was feeling a bit lonely when I arrived. I was on my own. So, I mean, my wife was going to work in the day, my mother-in-law was going to work in the day, and then my mother-in-law's boyfriend was also going to work. I would go and see my grandmother-in-law perhaps once a week, but otherwise I was on my own and still trying to find my feet. So having a bit of friend time was awesome. Obviously I saw Aki, but it was nice to see some boys around my age to have a couple of bevies with. In my next video I'll be covering more of my Hokkaido adventure. I'll also explain to you how my journey almost came to an end, and in fact I almost nearly died, and I will be showing you you an adventure that my wife and I went on to Lake Akan and also the Ainu village, the Ainu being the indigenous people of Hokkaido in Japan. The video will also show my recovery period and also my difficulties with the soaring temperatures by around about August, because it was mental. It was not what I expected. And finally, I will also be talking about why I needed to move out of my mother-in-law's house. So if you like this video, please smash the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and please leave a comment because I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for watching. Bye.